Good evening. My name is Kedar Ahmed and with rptv News. And today we're here at the Regent Park Community Centre for our neighborhood town hall meeting today with City Councillor Moise.
So this is my fourth meeting in town hall, fourth town hall out of 6. A lot of late nights and a bit exhausted, so please bear with me as we start. I'm going to start my presentation. I will read a few comments to start off, and then we're going to go to open mic. So welcome everyone. My name is Moise, and also City Councillor for Toronto Centre, Ward 13. Before getting started, I would like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Unresolved, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live on this land. We recognize the historical and present-day traumas inflicted upon Indigenous peoples. We stand with communities and families as they mourn the loss of loved ones who were sent to residential schools and never returned. We also acknowledge our complicity in ongoing colonial violence. We commit to supporting the efforts of Indigenous groups towards reconciliation and action-oriented practices, including the equitable use of resources. We strive to learn Indigenous histories and collaborate with communities and families so we can create safe spaces that honor Indigenous We strive to learn Indigenous histories and collaborate with communities and families so we can create safe spaces that honor Indigenous cultures and ensure that Indigenous perspectives are present in our work and practices. As a Caribbean Canadian, I am committed to continually acting in solidarity with our African, Caribbean, and Black communities, seeking freedom and reproductive justice in light of the history and ongoing legacy of slavery that continues to impact our communities across Canada. As part of this commitment, I would also like to acknowledge that not all people came to these lands as migrants and settlers. Specifically, I wish to acknowledge those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought into these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. In support of the City of Toronto's ongoing efforts to confront anti-Black racism, I pay tribute to those ancestors of African, Caribbean, and Black origins and descent. So here's an overview of tonight's agenda. My team and I will provide you with a few updates on key initiatives, projects, and policies that we've been working on your behalf at City Hall and in the community. Then we will dedicate the majority of our time to open discussion. Two of my staff, Eddie and Juliet, raise your hands, will circulate the room with cue cards and pens. If you have any questions or comments, please write them down, and when we get to the open discussion portion of this evening, we'll have an opportunity to speak. So our work at City Hall is extremely busy, both inside the building with the communities, agencies, and boards I sit on, but also here in the community. These files allow me to break down some of the silos that we face at City Hall so that I can deliver results in our communities. We often work in our bubbles, but it has been a goal of mine to ensure that there is clear communication between departments as we can provide the best for our communities. Our ward has the largest workload than any other ward in the city, with very complex files. I have a great team who are here tonight. In particular, I'd like to introduce you to Yusuf Hussain. He's the neighborhood lead for Regent Park. very hard work, and I'm sure he appreciates that applause. Assisting him is Amy Zoe, who is new to my team and has been helping with the significant caseload in your neighborhood. Yusuf and Amy bring a wealth of knowledge and boundless enthusiasm. They're dedicated to addressing the distinctive needs of Regent Park residents and standing ready to collaborate closely with all of you to drive positive change within our neighborhood. If you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to them. So the introduction of the strong mayor powers of the province has changed how our city budget process works. The budget is ultimately set by the mayor and doesn't require city council approval. However, Mayor Chow has committed to continued consultation with the budget committee and members of the public. She will be hosting a vital pre-budget committee consultation in November. Your input is crucial to shape the budget according to community needs. Stay tuned for details on how you can provide feedback and make a difference. I want to begin by acknowledging the safety concerns raised within our community. As some of you may be aware, we tragically lost a community member to gun violence over the summer in Moss Park. This incident has understandably heightened safety concerns. It's imperative that we stand together to address these pressing issues. We are actively addressing these issues. Our office has been closely monitoring safety concerns along Oak Street, spanning from River to Parliament. We have also communicated with the Toronto Police. We are committed to patrolling the area with one dedicated police car sign to Regent Park. In addition, my dedicated staff have worked tirelessly alongside Toronto Community Housing and the Community Safety Division of the Toronto Police to address safety concerns in Regent Park proactively. We firmly believe everyone in our community deserves to feel safe and secure in their neighborhood and workplace. Rest assured, we are taking these matters seriously and will continue to work diligently to create a safer and more secure environment for all residents of Regent Park. Thank you for your attention, and please feel free to speak with your neighborhood lead here today or contact our office if you have any further concerns or suggestions regarding community safety. Your input is invaluable. Many of you have contacted my office via email and phone, expressing your interest in gaining access to community spaces. My office is actively engaged in a comprehensive review of all spaces in Regent Park, spanning phase 1 through 3. Our primary objective is to explore ways to enhance accessibility. Our office is in communication with Daniel Park and is working out the next steps for Daniel Spectrum and Artscape. We will give you an update when that is finalized. Your voice matters. And it is essential to highlight that the community is concerned about space accessibility as outlined in the needs assessments submitted to my office are being taken seriously. Your feedback and engagement are pivotal as we strive to ensure these community spaces become more welcoming and inclusive for everyone in our neighborhood. As you know, we have a lot of development in our ward. We have about 70 applications currently under review. About 50 have been approved and have not started construction yet. And about 30 are actively under construction. I'd also like to mention that with the province's new transit-oriented community legislation, almost every neighborhood is within a major public transportation area. Some neighborhoods are within multiple. Once the province announces the regulations in the coming months, developers will have a minimum height instead of the existing maximum heights. As many of you know, Phase 3 is coming to an end, and we are going into Phase 4 and 5. We are expecting the TCH building to go up at 125 Oak Street, at Oak and Sumac Street, which I had the honor to tour during construction just a few months ago. The building is expected to be ready in late September 2024, pending no construction delays. I have engaged in discussions with Daniel Park concerning the future of the land where the transportation center is currently located. While we are still deliberating the type of building that will be constructed, I am actively advocating for a cooperative building. I am wholeheartedly committed to fighting on behalf of the community to ensure a Regent Park co-op, a vision many of you have expressed a strong desire for. The revitalization of Regent Park is transforming our community into a diverse, mixed-income neighborhood with new housing options and community facilities. Phases 1 to 3 of this transformation are near completion, and beginning of Phase 4 to 5 has started. In response to evolving needs of the community and circumstances, TCHC and their new development partner, Tridel, collaborated with the community to update the vision for Phases 4 and 5 by submitting rezoning applications. This refreshed vision includes a brand new public library, a lively civic square, and 35,000 square feet of additional community space in the works. Plus over 600 new affordable rental units are in the pipelines. The proposal was submitted to the City of Toronto in April 2022. The plan features specific building heights and various requirements, ensuring a well-planned, vibrant development. The goal is to provide substantial community benefits, including a significant amount of community space and new publicly accessible open areas. City Council's approval of the proposal in July 2023 not only enables these changes, but also directs TCHC to prioritize affordable housing units, micro retail spaces, and community engagement initiatives. The project is set to commence in the coming months, with focused work around Dreamers Way and Sackville Street, involving careful planning and community involvement for successful and sustainable transformation of Regent Park. Exciting times lie ahead for a revitalized and enriched neighborhood. Construction can be a hassle, as we all know, but rest assured, steps will be taken to keep disruptions to a minimum and keep everyone informed. Regent Park's revitalization is on track, promising a more dynamic and enriched community for everyone. I think it's exciting times ahead. The City Council has approved and installed traffic signals at the Shooter and Sumac intersection. Our office is actively pursuing extending the crossing time to enhance safety. Meanwhile, City staff is presently conducting an assessment of the Dundas and Sackville intersection. This review comes in response to numerous concerns about the unsafe practice of vehicles turning into the bike lane from the right lane. Additionally, evaluation covers the bike lane and the one-way route along the southbound stretch of Davie Avenue due to concerns about traffic. We will update you when we hear back from city staff. Over the past year, I've had the pleasure of meeting countless incredible people who have truly made a difference in our communities. From tending to public gardens and painting beautiful murals, to championing safer neighborhoods and even meeting our beloved laneways. Their contributions have made our neighborhoods more lively, connected, and vibrant. So my team and I have created the Community Builders Award as a way to honor community heroes and advocates who have taken time and energy out of their everyday lives to help improve our communities. This will be an annual award given to a number of accomplished individuals who have taken an active role in our communities. This year, although we only had a short window with nominations closing on September 7th, we have had a huge pouring of nominations, of which 9 award recipients were selected. Moving forward and into next year, we will keep nominations open and create a selection committee made up of community members. If you are interested in volunteering, please let us know. All residents of Toronto Centre are encouraged to nominate individuals who have made a positive impact on our local communities. This year's recipients will be recognized during an award ceremony at the end of our final town hall on October 5th at Cooper Coo YMCA around 7:30 p.m. Please join us with your friends, family, and neighbors. And those are the end of my opening remarks. And I'd like to call up the chief of staff, Tyler John, to moderate this next segment.
Sorry, I forgot about that part. Okay, so now we're going to do open mic, if this mic is working. Hello, hello. So we're going to do open mic. We have Juliet, who's going to take care of this side here, and we have Eddie, who's going to take care of this side here. So just put up your hand if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, and they'll come to you and they'll number you as well. They'll number you as well. Please remember to speak respectfully, listen actively to others, try not to interrupt. Keep your questions and comments as brief as possible, just so that we can get through as many people as possible. Be open-minded and focus on solutions. We have some city staff in the room, TCHC staff, Toronto Police, the CSU, and I think that's it. Oh, and Tridell and Daniels are here as well, if there's any questions about the development. So, we have our first one here, and I'll give this mic over to Julian.
Oh, hello. Name's Andrew, live at 146 Sumac. Two-part question, but both of them dealing with traffic. One is illegal parking on Regent Park Boulevard, specifically on the east side, where you have FedEx and Canada Post in that parking. That's become a huge, huge issue because it's just not being enforced. It's gotten brutal when you're trying to walk. And the other one has to do with snow clearing this winter. Last winter, your staffing that you had hired to do the bike lane to clear the roadway was shoveling all the snow into the pathway where the streetcar that has an accessible ramp couldn't deploy the ramps. And that was a huge issue because certain people in this community, if they are ambulatory, they can't get wheel trams. You have to use the streetcars. If you're blocking the ramp, then they have no access.
Thank you for the question. I'll start with the second question and I'll go to the first question afterwards. So parking was snow removal was a complete disaster last year. You know, when I first got elected, city staff had us all in the room, all the councillors and staff. It gave a great presentation, you know, they all had GPS in their vehicles and everything was wonderful, it's gonna be wonderful. And I actually bought into it, because I thought to myself, oh my God, like,
They sold it.
they sold me, there's no way anything can go wrong. And it was a total disaster, to be clear. And so other councillors, of course, and of course there's a lot of complaints from the community across the city. It was even a worse disaster in Scarborough. It goes back to the residents there. And even though it was not great in Toronto proper, Toronto Centre, it wasn't as bad as the outskirts. But that being said, though, it was not at a level that we expected, and we made that very clear to the contractors. And so they've gone back to the drawing board and took our concerns to heart and changed things for this year. So my hope is that the concerns that you brought up will be addressed this year, and we will not see the same problems as we did last year. In regards to your first question around parking, my understanding is that the laneways are still actually privately owned by, I think, TCHC and Daniels. Yeah, I don't think it's been turned over to the city quite yet. That's my understanding. But TCHC and Daniels in the room, I believe, and perhaps they can elaborate on that point. So I see that Ed, you would like to.
You want to take it? Sure. Thanks.
Hello. I think the question was regarding Regent Park Boulevard. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the area where the Muse is, the linear park. That is actually now, I believe, the city street.
They're talking about the laneways.
Are we talking about the private laneway and behind blocks?
No.
No.
Oh, wait, he's gonna clarify.
Okay.
Can I explain it to you?
Yeah.
Regent Park
There's a
Boulevard,
mic in front of you.
Regent Park Boulevard between St. David Street and Dundas Street East. You're allowing, if it's private property, it's now being brought up, you're allowing OPDI, which is Amazon, complaint with them, FedEx, Canada Post, UPS, all to park on the east side of Regent Park Boulevard, in front of where the subway, the Wendy's, or the Tim Hortons and all that are. You made this huge wide sidewalk, and then you let people park, which then defeats the whole purpose of having a nice wide sidewalk. And it was brutal in the wintertime. You had somebody who's visually impaired or with a wheelchair or has a walker. If you force them too far over, then their only option is stairs. Again, defeating the money being spent. Especially when you gotta use that to get on that street. But interestingly, Paulo, if you're saying that that is private, still Daniels, then it's Daniels and he can then call and have, but I can go.
Sorry, it's my mic. So currently only one mic can be turned on at a time, not including mine. Yeah. We did test the mic before we actually started. That's something fun.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. So Regent Park Boulevard is assumed by the city. It's no longer in the jurisdiction or control of TCH nor Daniels. It never was Daniels. It's always TCH. The private laneways that you referred to, Councillor Moise, I mean, those are going to be cleared by Daniels. Those ones in due east in our works condominiums where the living lane is, it's Ratna Lane. Those are owned by Daniels and will be cleared privately by the property management company, which is no clear, but I believe the road that this gentleman's referred to is in fact now a city street. So I think what you were indicating about snow clearing would be, the appropriate answer and response.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because I was told something different before, but now that our records saying that it's a city boulevard, we will take that back and look further into it. Okay, thank you for that, I appreciate the question.
Thanks. I had a question about the new lights installed at Sumac and Sugar. I'm really happy that there are lights there, they make more secure, obviously, for us to cross as pedestrians. But if you're cycling or if you're walking, you either have to, if you're cycling, you just have to wait until a car shows up or try your luck in order to cross Shooter, because it doesn't change or detect that the bicycle's there, or you have to get off your bike, press it, come back, so it's not very convenient. And if you're walking, you have about 20 seconds to cross. So clearly the lights that are there right now, they're advantageous for cars more so than for pedestrians or cyclists. And I think that's something the city should address, because obviously the point was to make it safer for pedestrians and safer for cyclists, instead of just becoming an inconvenience. And now we just sort of risk crossing or threat, because that's the fastest and easiest way to do it.
So in my opening remarks, I did mention that we're actually going to be changing the length of time that the light remains red. So that's in the works. But the bike piece is an important piece, of course, and that we can actually take back to transportation and see what can be done about it. As you may know, we actually did something similar on Adelaide, in that the bikes actually have their own signals and priority for safety. So I don't see why something similar cannot happen over here in Sugar Street, especially next to the school. So again, yeah. So again, we'll take that back. We're taking those steps here tonight, and we'll definitely take that back. I saw there's a hand.
Just in regard to the parking piece, to the gentleman that asked the question, parking enforcement does frequent there often, and when they're not there, if you just make a phone call to the city, they can have somebody sent in to come and ticket and remove those vehicles if needed.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Chris. How you doing?
I'm wonderful.
All right, it's good to see you. I'm here to bring solutions. Can you hear me? I can use my voice.
No.
I'm here to bring solutions. A group of indigenous women and men have been in dialogue with our good friends from Daniels Corporation. Fatima's here. One of those solutions that we're seeking, since we are remembering Truth and Reconciliation tomorrow, Friday, everybody's invited to come to Nathan Phillips Square at 6 a.m. We have a sunrise ceremony. And one of the ideas that we have is to create a land trust for the property named 500 Dundas Street East, which is the sales shop of Daniels Corporation. That was one of the last things that has not been mentioned in all the information we have received from Toronto Community Housing and in Daniels, is what we're going to do with that property. So I'm thankful that Daniels are continuing the conversation, and I want to acknowledge one woman, Tiffany Kawe. She has run to become also a member of the Regional Affairs Committee, and she has not been allowed to participate because she is a grassroots organizer. So I want you to ask the city appointments, when are they going to complete the terms of reference so that we can move on with the the Regional Indigenous Affairs Advisory Committee. They have no meetings scheduled for 2023. There is no councillor appointed yet. So it is shameful that we're talking about reconciliation and we don't have yet an advisory committee that we're going to provide information for the city how your decisions made at City Council affect our lives, in particularly the Toronto Police Services Board. There has never been a member of the indigenous community representing the community at the Police Services Board. Those are my two solutions, and the last one is with regards to RGI units. We have asked the mayor politely. The Regent Park Neighborhood Association has asked for a meeting face-to-face to discuss the future of RGI units in this community, because our children who are trying to stay here, they're moving out to other cities, and according Councillor Bradford, they're moving to Hamilton. So it's shameful. We have to create more RGI units. And one of the solutions is a land trust that can become the first indigenous co-op in Regent Park. Thank you.
Well, I'll speak to two issues that you've mentioned here. First of all, the ICIC, the Indigenous Committee. The reason why a committee hasn't been formed yet, it hasn't gone to the Civics Committee, is because we are consulting the Indigenous community. Rather than having a Eurocentric approach to forming the committee and having people like me, because I actually sit in this committee, I actually make the decisions as to who's appointed to these boards. But the city have taken the advice of the Indigenous community and going out to various Indigenous groups for their ways and perspectives of how to actually appoint people to that board. So we're taking our time, our due diligence, as we consult with Indigenous communities. So that's the reason why there is not a committee currently. So it's not on our timeline, but it's on their timeline, out of respect for the community. Your second question around RGIs, and I've said this many times in Regent Park, the Regent Park community, in various meetings, is that RGIs are not funded by the city of Toronto. They are funded provincially and federally. This is why we have maintained the existing RGIs in Regent Park. But we as a city cannot incur the cost for additional RGIs. It's quite expensive to actually have more RGI units. So if you want to have more RGI units in Regent Park, then you need to consult with your local MPP, who's here today, Councillor MPP 110, and also Marcy Ian, who's our minister or our MP here. So it's not in the purview of the city to create more RGIs. Right? We don't have the funding for it, we cannot afford it, and the Mayor Chow has stated that it's not feasible. So again, and as we speak now, Mayor Chow is in Ottawa speaking to various ministers and hopefully the Prime Minister about funding for Toronto when it comes to housing and other issues. But I have stated time and time again, Miguel, you've heard me say this time and time again, I cannot create more RGIs here in Regent Park or anywhere else in the city of Toronto. Because not only Regent Park is asking for more RGI units, but also to other parts of the city. So those are my responses to your very important questions.
Thank you. It's not going to work, is it? Miguel, thank you for the question to the councillor. I think he answered it quite well. I just wanted to pipe in and just maybe offer one more reflection, especially with respect to the rising cost of rents. We know that it's an absolute runaway situation at the matter. Right now, we've got a one-bedroom apartment sitting at $3,000, and rising very rapidly. We don't have rent control, not real full rent control. We don't have vacancy control. So the councillor is absolutely right. We do need to bring this fight to the province. I would encourage all of you who want to work on rent control, who want to work on building the capacity to expand RGI, is to come and see me. I'm very interested in doing this work with you. We have a housing critic by the name of Jessica Bell, and this is something that we have been advocating for as the official opposition from, honestly, since 2018 and earlier. But all of your voices need to be heard, because I can tell you right now that the Premier and the new Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing is simply not listening. And the housing crisis is only going to deepen and get much, much worse while inaction is running amok. So thank you.
Welcome. My sister Tiffany has arrived. We can talk later about the land trust. It will be awesome. You can join us in the conversation. Thank you.
Miguel, I want to respond to the other part of your question, which is about 500 industrial right? So I'm here. I'm with Toronto Community Housing, and no, I'm embarrassed. No, I think it's a really important point, and that is you know, in our kind of redevelopment, revitalization window. That's part of phase one. That was part of the original plan for the revitalization of Regent Park. It was originally slated to be a market condominium building that would be developed jointly between us and the Daniels Corporation. So it would be one of the last projects that we're working with them on for phase one. But we're also working on a plan for how do we take it to the next step on that side. How do we include affordable housing, and certainly the idea of a co-op is front and center. And we've been in conversations with the councillor's office and city planning, and they too have also been very supportive of this idea and actually getting a bit more density on that site so we can actually achieve that exact objective. So it's something we've heard, something we're thinking about, something that we're working very closely with the city and the councilor's office to achieve, and we'll be able to report back on that further in coming months.
Get us involved, please. Get us involved in the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah?
Bye bye. Bye bye.
It works though.
It's working now. It's working.
It just takes a few seconds.
It just takes a few seconds.
So, yeah, I actually wanted to go back to the gentleman's concern, because it's definitely a massive concern. I've called for more many times. They don't turn up. The wait time is long, so I don't know what your SLA is, service level agreements, but hours, and I have a job. I can't really be on the phone waiting for folks to pick up. Many people in my building call as well. So let me tell you the things that happen there. Even the police put their vehicles on top the on the boulevard, right? As far as I know, that's supposed to be a park, but they put their vehicles there while they go have coffee. Yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you what I've seen. If you'd like me to take pictures, I can start doing that too. But they do that, and certainly every FedEx, every delivery truck, they all do it. To the point now where people who are coming to grab their coffee, they do it as well, right? Quick in, out. So that is a challenge. That street is extremely dirty. And so you know that we did an event. We called the city to have them come and clean it. They said no. I've also been walking there, seen city staff and said, hey, can I ask a question? And generally I get back, don't ask us anything. It's one word answer. Again, I don't know what the SLA is for the city. Also, in the middle are electrical outlets. Those don't work unless you fight with someone. So we were able to get lucky to wrangle in some way to get them turned on, right? But generally when we call and ask and you're paying for, to put in an application to use these spaces, you are going through a fair bit of your time to put in the many applications that are required. We generally don't get a good customer experience. So we asked as well for it to be clean. That was a no. We asked for it to be washed down because there were several events during the summer and it was a lot of grease and muck and whatever on it. And we were told the city has one truck for doing such a thing. So, you know, so I'm giving you some color to the comment because it is a challenge, right? And I know that that area was to come back to the community to manage it, but it is a challenge. And now you can see the sheer amount of garbage, including cigarette butts, right? And I think we all should be using the space, but as a city body, you should also be cleaning the space for us to enjoy.
Okay, thank you for that, Gail. So I have two comments to make. Again, it's unacceptable that city staff is dismissing your concerns. I encourage you, of course, to always reach out to my office because we get these sort of calls all the time. And when we respond, city staff tends to be more quicker on these things, right? It's not, but again, that being said though, we have 311 and other services that we direct people to, and they should get the proper response that is needed. And we do have some challenges with 311, and I have addressed those concerns with senior management of the city around that. There's still work to be done. But also too, we just finished 4 public meetings of the Downtown East Action Plan. And I know that Regent Park has its own plan when it comes to cleaning and those things, but the Downtown East Action Plan is for the entire area, which means that there's more resources for garbage pickup and for cleaning and graffiti and all those things. So that could be part and parcel of the Downtown East Action Plan into cleaning this area. But again, I was told though Regent Park does have its own action plan when it comes to cleaning, but perhaps staff can respond to that. That's what I was told. Yeah. Do you want to comment on that, Zimmerman? Peter.
This is a challenging one, and we certainly know that there are some issues, and we have staff in our group that are actively monitoring the issues around the Toronto Community Housing buildings and trying to make sure that we maintain a high standard of cleanliness around those buildings. We're not perfect. I don't think we're where we want to be, but we're aware that those problems exist. And we do have members on our team who are actively tracking those issues. So for instance, in front of our engagement office on Dundas, you see that the bricks, the interlock is up there, been replaced. People have complained about that. We are in the process of taking down satellite dishes which have been inappropriately attached to buildings. We have replaced a lot of the garbage bins around the townhome units. So it's an ongoing challenge. Totally acknowledge that it's not perfect, but we are aware of it and we're trying to work towards a better state of cleanliness in the community, particularly around the TCH buildings.
But again, like I mentioned to Gail, if you have any concerns or anyone here has concerns around attendance or any issues, please reach out to my office and we'll make sure that we speak together to get those involved, like Peter and others. Any other questions?
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is again about parking. Some of us live in affordable housing, and we're given the luxury apartments, and the model suite. We're told we do not have access to parking. And if the building doesn't have access to parking, I would say it's fair enough for me not to have a parking spot. But the subsidized people who live in the unit pay less than us because they're rented income, they get the parking. We have to
suffer in the winter looking for a parking spot. I have to wait 10 minutes, drop the kid, walk for 10 minutes again to look for a parking spot. We're paying more. Is that really fair enough for us? If there wasn't parking, I would say, okay, there's no parking, but there is parking in those buildings. Who are those parking assigned to? That's the question I've been raising and I haven't been given an answer. And I want to know that from the THC because that deals with them too. Thank you.
So I'll have Daniel respond to that, but I want to say that in regards to permit parking, street parking, those who live in TCHC are given priority. Those who actually live in the condos, market units, actually don't have access to permit parking. So that will help resolve some of the issues around parking in Regent Park. But in regards to parking in TCHC underground, I'm not quite sure how that is distributed.
So we just simply do not have enough parking to distribute to all the tenants. However, we don't have anyone here from the parking enforcement pillar. So we'll have to take that comment and get back to you with an answer.
There's a follow-up to that response.
I want to ask a question. When the buildings are being built, is there parking assigned to every unit?
So maybe I could start. So we have a new policy in the city in that when buildings go up, we actually don't have as much parking in them. For example, phases 4 and 5, there may be less parking in those units because we, as a city, believe that people who live downtown, work downtown, and close to transit should use those public services rather than focusing on cars. So people are biking more and using other modes of transportation instead of actually putting money towards parking. And not only here in Regent Park, but across the board, across the city. Like we have 60, 70-story condos with about 10 parking spots, but 2 levels of bike parking. So again, in regards to my closing remarks around being a transit hub, right? That is part of our Vision Zero going forward to reduce the use of vehicles. Well, like I mentioned, though, that in regards to permit parking, street parking, those parking spaces that are assigned to TCHC residents and not to the market residents. That's a way of alleviating some of the pressures that I'm hearing from you.
Hope you can hear me. Not, I'm going to have to stand up and speak out. So I thank you, Councillor Moise, for hosting a town hall. I just want to bring up 2 issues that are very important to the community. First of all, I want to acknowledge we have a lot of folks who are connected to the social development plan in the audience today. I see folks from SDFA, our city staff, and the point that I want to raise is the critical investments that need to be made in people through a social development plan. We know City Council passed a motion to allocate $2.5 million to the Regent Park community to support the people. It's not just investing in buildings, it's investing in people. And we see the results. You know, look at crime in Regent Park, the shootings in Regent Park. In comparison to Moss Park, a neighboring community, which has seen a spike in killings, in death. It shows when you invest in people, there are results. And I know MPP Christine one time, when she was council one time, was in support of the social development plan. And what we hope is to engage with your office and the mayor's office to continue that investment through the revitalization period, which doesn't end in 2024. It's going to continue the next 10 to 13 years. Second thing that I want to quickly raise that's really critical, it's about our community. You know, our goal as a social development plan is social cohesion and inclusion. But we do not ignore the fabric of this community that makes it special, which is we were a social housing community. And the RGI units that have just been committed are to replace the current units. You know, there's been a call, I heard with my friend Miguel and other folks in the community, that we need more investment in RGI. And just for everyone's information, it costs $8,000 a year to maintain a unit as RGI. That's from the Housing Secretariat. So it's not just a huge financial burden, right? And the city actually does invest in RGI, but it also secures funding from the federal government and the provincial government. And I think we need to work together to secure that funding so that we address the root causes of the housing crisis, which is Mayor John Tory had a policy, it was a Housing Secretariat announced this, that the additional funding that they got was to secure affordable housing for a limited period of time. We're talking about 20 years, 40 years. It was not a direct investment in RGI units. So we also need a policy solution by getting the committee to not just implement its own policy on affordable housing, which is OPA 558, which is based on income, but also invest in rent geared to income units. So I was hoping you could address that first before I make a request on behalf of the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, because we want to meet with you and our other representatives to talk about solutions, because this is such an important opportunity. We have to get it right. Thank you.
Well said, brother. And don't forget to get child to the table too.
I have mentioned, I've met with you and others on various occasions to talk about this particular issue. We've also met with Ian in her office to talk about this issue. And to your own point, it costs $8,000 for an RGI unit, per unit, right? And as you know, the city has a $1.5 billion deficit right now. We're trying to fill desperately. Hence why the mayor is now in Ottawa, and she was at Queen's Park last week, trying to do the best that she can. And so I know we're talking about Regent Park right now, but you know, there's Gin and Finch, there is Swansea News, there's all the places that also want more RGIs. The city does not have the financial capacity of the building to enhance our RGI. I think it's unfair to ask the city to bear the burden of all this. I know that we are in a housing crisis. We recognize that, and we're doing the best we can with the means that we have. But to ask us to step into the realm of the provincial and the federal, because they will come to the table, is unfair, I have to say. So I need to say that. And your second point was SDP. And that came into effect during phases 1 and 3, 1, 2, and 3, right? And so we're now approaching phases 4 and 5. We know that Daniels have brought $26.8 million to the table. Sorry, try now.
Daniels, it was $26.8 million.
But when it comes to SDP, you know, you may be aware that money is running out, right? It's probably gone, the wealth is gone dry already. I'm not certain.
1 more year.
Okay, 1 more year, pardon me. But again, you know, I think, you know, we need to look forward and not backwards. And this is why, you know, looking at phases 4 and 5 and the partnership with Tridel and CCC, those are the things that John here. Sorry, you know that. You know, if John is here, this is his file. I'm going to have you speak to it.
No worries. Can you hear me?
No.
Alright, maybe we should leave. I don't know. Okay. Well, I will speak from the diaphragm, as they say. And thank you for outlining the social development plan. The social development plan has initiated in 2007 and then again updated with a refresh. As many Regent Park residents are aware, Regent Park community leaders are aware, it is a living document. It is a process to frame investments in the community. And we have a... Switch mics. Try it again. No? All right. Maybe it's my voice. That's good. All right. So good points in terms of the impact of the funding. Also, we want to recognize that as a living document, it needs to be a living process. It needs to be updated, and there will be a process to update that, but also to evaluate the investments as they've happened over the last 5 years. So there's some very good advocacy from community members, community leaders, your local councillors in terms of establishing resources for the SDP. And with that, also the knowledge of evaluating the investments and reporting back to council. And I will have to say the councillor has outlined the situation that we're in right now. We want to make the best investments based on the updated priorities of the community. So one thing we will be doing is coming to the community in partnership with the community and with TCHC to look at an update of and an additional refresh of the social development plan. But I will say Regent Park is a very fortunate community in terms of having the partnerships that have supported investments like the CBA. And I think the SDP can complement that in terms of framing the priorities of the neighborhood. It may not always be it can't compete with the investments in terms of dollars, but it can complement the investments in terms of partnerships. And I've already said too much. I'm here all night. Happy to answer other questions on the side.
Okay.
So first of all, like when I hear about there isn't enough money, we got ourselves into this situation because people didn't realize that technology would mean less, not more. And we better come up with some long-term strategy. I don't think like Olivia Chow going to Ottawa is going to get us enough money, and I don't think that that this is the end of it. I mean, there's just a general imbalance in the economy, and what people hadn't realized, I don't think, until fairly recently, is that when you have that kind of thing, it means you have less every year than you did the year before. So it's more urgent than people seem to realize it is. The other thing I want to specifically talk about here is the proposal to get an association of community centers in Regent Park for the new community space that's going into 4 and 5. I would like to, I mean, I've already put forward a general proposal, but I would like to start meeting with the staff to put financial numbers on it. So I'm going to be asking for separate meetings with many people to get this moved forward. Because the other part of the process just doesn't seem to be working. So I'm going to be continuing to ask for individual meetings so that I can prepare a detailed.
Okay,
Thank you for your question. In regards to the finances that you mentioned earlier, I mean, yes, we have a $1.5 billion deficit, but that's largely because of the pandemic and the cost of holding people up as a result of that. We didn't see the pandemic coming, and it's caused a lot of issues across not only Toronto, but really across the entire country, right? We stepped up when others didn't, and this is why we're in the position we're in now, and we're asking various levels of government to assist the city. In regards to the 35,000 square feet of space in phases 4 and 5, my office has been working with various departments, trying to see how we can actually manage those spaces and make sure that it's well utilized for the community. So speaking to CREM and Rtv and others to see what is the best practices to use me like with power. And also too, we also want to look at public spaces or community spaces in phases 1, 2, and 3 as well. So I think at the end of the day, we want to bring have a full picture of all the spaces available in Regent Park, so the community can have access to the space going forward. So it is front of mind to me as local city councillor, and to look at best practices and perhaps some of the mistakes we've done in the past, and look forward and make it somewhat, holistic. So I will keep you informed as to the next phase going forward. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I think there was a comment or a question regarding AOX, and just in stating right now, as it stands, there are 10 AOX in the city portfolio. There are no present plans to add to that. The AOX are funded by the city. I think the councillor has outlined presently funding situations, but also outlined looking at a number of other building options. But I'm here basically not to poke a pin in anything, but to put the reality of the situation right now with AOX. There are no present plans in terms of expanding the AOC portfolio.
What's an AOC?
Association of Community Centers.
Thank you.
So 519, and there are 9 others.
You'll speak in initials.
Okay, I don't really trust this thing based on what I've seen. I'm Peter Newell. I'm the president so I'm not from the Regent Park area. I bring greetings from Sherbourne and Dundas, All Saints. So I'm the president and chair of All Saints Homes, and I have 2 things really I wanted to talk about very briefly. One is RGI, because we are an RGI provider. Small, 75 units, so we're small. But we are an RGI provider. And secondly, I want to talk a little bit about security. The first point with respect to RGI, I wanted to, certainly what Councillor Moise says about it's not the city, it's true. However, I want to commend the city for the support that we've received from the Housing Secretariat with respect to enabling things that we do as an RGI provider, to helping us work with both the provincial government and the federal government through the COCHI system, and also through grants available by CMHC to actually improve, retrofit the property that we have, and also think about ways that we, in our spot, on our particular location, can actually look at a possibility of perhaps enhancing the availability of good, decent RGI housing that would be available to people. So that's the city actually doing what it can as an enabler, as a facilitator, and giving us authentic assistance, which we greatly appreciate. That's one. On the security issue, you know, it's funny. Obviously, when people drive by Sherburne and Dundas, it's a bit tough. There's some angry people. There's troubles there. And there are people with great frustrations, people who are desperate for all kinds of different reasons. But, the thing about it is that it causes anxiety amongst those people who are experiencing anxiety already, and then it also, for example, for our residents and for the people in our drop-in, it causes a lot of worry and concern and upset, and it's a cycle that I don't think anybody has an easy way of breaking that cycle. But one thing that has worked and is working even today, because I was talking to members of the police community response unit, is just presence of friendly, nice people, police officers who are just trying to be okay, and that in itself helps. I understand that the police have an obligation to arrest people and be tough guys some of the time. I know that's part of the job. But to have presence of people who are just have the training and patience and confidence to actually reduce situations that are potentially challenging is a good thing, and I hope that work could be continued and enhanced. Thank you.
Great comments, or the safety concerns around Dundas are quite serious. I'm sure you're aware that 4 people were shot in that area. One died. Yes. So we have to be mindful of the challenges in that area. I'm concerned for the people who are the most vulnerable around the building, who are preyed upon by the drug dealers and others. I'm concerned about the people who live in and around the Dundas area. They have homes there. The apartments should be property they own themselves. They deserve to feel safe as well. So it's just not focusing on one, but focusing on all. And we have the local city councillor. It's my responsibility and my obligation to do this. I have engaged Toronto Police to assist me in, keeping the area safe. I also am asking that all states be a partner with me in making sure that everyone is safe. That's what I'm asking. I know that in my previous public meeting I had, there was some post online about me making some comments that was taken out of context, which I didn't issue with. Starts the back. But I'm going to have Sergeant Dick come up and comment about the safety issues in the Dundas-Sherburne area. Perhaps elaborate on my comments. Safety is top of mind for me, not only in the Sherburne-Dundas area, but across the entire board and across the city itself. Right there.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor. I'm Sergeant Henry Dick. I think most people in the room know who I am. I'm the Sergeant in charge of the Neighborhood Community Officer Program for 51 Division. And I've worked in this neighborhood now for about 8.5 years and look after specific officers that I'm sure Peter has seen many times, both in the Dundas and Sherbourne area, and then dedicated officers, one of whom is here tonight, Nigel, one of our Regent Park neighborhood officers. We have lots of concerns about Dundas and Sherbourne. There have been concerns for very, very many years, obviously. When I started here, just to say how things have progressed and changed, we had no dedicated officers for Dundas and Sherbourne in the surrounding neighborhood. Now we have 8. So I just finished backfilling 2 positions. So we've been a little bit light, but I've actually filled those spots. So starting October the 9th, there are going to be a couple of extra officers, Peter dedicated specifically for that area. Obviously, you know, there's lots of history that we could talk about in terms of Dundas and Sherbourne and also here in Regent Park. But, you know, it's not all bad. And I think, you know, while we focus on what we need to do to deal with some of the issues that are happening, it's good to remember that there's other things that are happening that are also good things. So, for example, since we're here in Regent Park, you know, when I first started working this neighborhood, we had a period of time, a short period of time between the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, where we had a massive number of shootings and homicides. We had 7 homicides in a year just in North Region, and we had 22 shootings in about 4 months period of time, just in this neighborhood. Now, does anybody want to take a guess how many shootings we had in this neighborhood this year? 0. That's, thank you, yeah, thank you. That's not me though, that's not just me. I mean, we work very hard, but this is community working together. This is, you know, people like Lucky and people, you know, like the councillor and people like CCRP and people that work for SDFA and people that are other community groups, all working together to try and make this place safety. It's the YOWs, the youth outreach workers, it's so many people, right? But we have to work together. But when we do make a concerted effort, and unfortunately sometimes it takes something precipitous like, you know, a sudden impetus of violence for people to come together and work together. But when we do, we see the results. And the results for this neighborhood is crime is way down. Violent crime is at a historic low in Regent Park. So what we need to do for your area, Peter, is take the things that we've done in Regent Park that have worked in terms of the things that we've done in working together in partnership and collaboration, all of us together, federally, provincially, municipally, social service agencies, youth outreach workers, police that work in a neighborhood capacity and all work together. We need to focus our attention on that area in the way that we focused our attention here, and the outcomes will be good. So I'm looking forward to further you know, conversations about that in your neighborhood. But I'm very pleased to say that this model here, I can tell you, we have police come from other jurisdictions in Canada and even around the world to talk about the way in which Regent Park has been successful in becoming a more vibrant, dynamic, and safer place to live, work, play, and go to school. So I'm very proud of that, and you should all be very proud of that as well. Thank you.
Bring my own speaker. It's working. Everything in my car.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm a TCHC tenant. I'm just tired of the disrespect for TCHC tenants. There's too many disrespect. I'm tired of everybody judging us and saying, oh, we're paying less money, so we shouldn't matter. But what they don't realize is we're the ones that lived in region for 20 plus years. We're the ones that are mothers raising kids. We're the ones that are, you know, community members volunteering in so many ways. We're the ones working so hard and being taxpayers and still get so much disrespect by TCHC, by other tenants who just moved in the have issues with this, even pickups, garbage pickups. Instead of the cars that are parking in front of us, parking by the condos, because condo people don't get garbage picked up on their side, we have cars that park on our side in front of where our garbage are supposed to be picked up. In the winter, what people don't realize is sometimes the garbage trucks have a hard time just passing through and picking up garbages. You know, there's no piled up and it doesn't get cleaned up for so many days and our garbage stays there. There's so many issues that we're having, and we're taxpayers. We're not just paying, little whatever. We might have started as how do you call it? Low-income families, but our income went up high, and we're taxpayers. And where's our respect? We don't get no respect. Instead, we get disrespected by everyone here and everyone else. I'm just so sick and tired of working so hard to raise my family, and my family's safety is at risk. We don't have gates and fences like we're supposed to, like everybody else has. And we have homeless people who try to break into our homes. Where's our safety? When does the city care about us? When does the community care about us? When does all these newcomers with our condo people care about us? No one cares about us. I'm just so tired of the disrespect. We need respect, and we should have some. Thank you.
I want to start by saying that I see you, I do see you, and I do care about you. This is why I'm the local city councillor, working hard for you. You know, one of the first things that I did when I became councillor was actually to open up a constituent office right in Regent Park. Staff Monday to Thursday, 11 to 4. And we have many people walking in from Regent Park talking to us about the issues that they're facing. I'd be surprised how many people come in here just for counseling purposes. My staff feels like they're counselors now, because they listen to a lot of the issues of the community. And we address them one by one. And I spent more time here in the last 10 months in Regent Park than any other area of the ward. So, and even prior to being a councillor, as a school board trustee, I was in the schools here, at Mindell, at Warduffer, at Spruce Court, talking to your kids and your teachers. If you go to the schools here now, here in the neighborhood, you'll see that the administration actually look like the people that they teach. That was my advocacy. And I continue that in my role as a councillor here. So, are things at a place where they need to be right now? No. There's a lot more that should be done and will be done. And if you have any issues, I know Yusuf is front and center in this on his file. He actually lives here in Regent Park. His family still lives in Regent Park. Mary, who's on my team as well, is from Regent Park. So with intention, I have had people on my staff team who understands the difficulty and challenges that you face and you continue to face. So progress can be faster, yes, but there is progress taking place. And if you have any issues, please do reach out to us because we are here for you 7 days a week. Okay?
Just a question to
THC again. About transferring from one unit to another. Let's say I'm a mother, I'm alone and I have a child. I go to a group 1-bedroom house, I need a transfer. I won't get that transfer unless it's special priority. Special priority means you're being abused by your neighbor or you're being harassed by your neighbor. Maybe I've created a family in the community. Like, love your neighbors, you love yourself. It could be my family, or I couldn't have a family, I'm an immigrant, I migrated from somewhere else, and these are my family. I will not give them that priority to get a 2-bedroom in the unit, it's vacant, with somebody else will be brought somewhere else, and be given a priority. Because why? I'm not being abused by my neighbor or somebody that I'm living with. So I want to know what are their special priorities, because people have created families in these communities. Our kids have grown up from here. Our kids have started from kindergarten and nursery to high school. In the end, we cannot be given a transfer from one unit to another, even if it is vacant. Because why? Special priority have been given to others, and to fill out that spot. As we've been here longer, we have to be taken out somewhere else. Thank you.
Peter?
Thanks for that. That is a very challenging question that you posed. And I think there are two parts of it. One is, it's an indication of the frayed system that we're operating within, and the fact that there's been so little new affordable housing built. And so organizationally, what we do is we scramble. We're like running around trying to put holes in all the leaking places in the system. And what you're speaking to is the priority wait list, where we're trying to get people out of situations of domestic violence and other real problems in their homes. And I understand and I hear your frustration. Councillor Moise has raised this issue with us in our recent meetings, talking about a way of working within Regent to try to maintain that integrity in the community, which has been at the heart of the revitalization efforts from the very beginning. And I wish we had an easy answer, and I can't give you an answer to that other than that we've heard this before. We know that this is a challenging situation for residents in Regent Park who are committed to being here, and we're going to be looking at solutions. I don't have an answer for you other than that we've heard you. I know the councillor is focused on it. It's something that we would like to try to work on in the next couple of years, particularly as we bring in all these new units online, and as we complete the relocation of all of the Regent Park tenants who have the right to return to Regent Park housing, and then we have this new stock of RGI housing that isn't specifically designated for Regent Park tenants, and we have these new, more than 600 units of new affordable housing. How we might figure out ways of making that work better for the residents of Regent Park as well as the city as a whole.
Hi. Councillor, you started the meeting talking about community safety and the presence of an additional cruiser down Dundas and on Oak. And never in my life have I ever heard the presence of police making those that the police are trying to actually please feel safer and more or less anxious. And so I'm just wondering, with the 35,000 additional, square feet of community spaces, is your office going to consider putting up arachno structures all over as well, so those who live in the neighborhood and around cannot, build a home in winter that is around the corner? Because, just I don't know if increased policing is going to address what happened in Moss Park or what happened in Leslieville.
Well, 35,000 square feet of space is not only, that's indoor space, but we do have some equal amount of space that's going to be outdoors as well. I don't remember the exact numbers. But my experience is that when you activate these public realms or spaces, you actually change the behavior of what happens in those public spaces. I have seen it firsthand, for example, as a former school trustee. For example, in Churchill Public School, the field was dark and it was unkept, and there were activities that took place there almost every night. So I actually invested some funds into that school, got a new field put in place, better lighting, and families came and they utilized that space, and all the, bad activities stopped happening. And if you look around the city, for example, Ramsey's Park is a prime example. It's a beautiful park, right in Rosedale. It has 2 off-leash parks. It has one full playground. Another, it has tennis courts and other activities. It's bustling with activities. There's no tents in that park.
That's in Rosedale.
It
And
is.
if you go into Rosedale Valley, you'll see plenty of tents.
Yes, I'm talking about parks and public spaces that we're creating. I'm saying that if you activate those spaces, right, you will not have those sort of activities taking place in those areas.
I want the people in tents to feel safe. I don't really care about, that's my priority. I want the people who are the most marginalized to feel also part of this.
Well, let me say to you this, I think recorded, but I'll say it nonetheless. Encampments are not safe spaces. I have more information than you do as to what happens in encampments, right? People are the most vulnerable among us, right? Are abused. The drug dealers are there, giving them bad drugs. They're assaulted more often than not.
As someone who's done outreach in Moss Park multiple years.
I get a weekly report as to what happens in Moss Park, in Howland Gardens, sorry.
We're all social workers.
Yeah, and you know what, I've worked in the field as well for 22 years. So I've seen it myself. And so I know what happens there. Those are not safe spaces for people. And I, with intention, over the last 10 months, I've actually put a trailer in the park, staffed Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, finding housing for people in the park. I'm not just kicking them out. I'm actually we're investing people resources in there to house people permanently. So to imply that I'm trying to kick them out onto the curb is not accurate. That is disinformation, and that is a plain lie. So my intention is to help the most vulnerable among us, as I have done for the last 22 years. So those people that are in the parks and in our laneways are members of our community.
Where are they supposed to go?
Well, this is why we, as a city council, with the leadership of Mayor Chow, is creating more affordable housing. And these things do take time. You don't flip a switch and it happens tomorrow. We are with intention trying to create more housing, even here in Regent Park in phases 4 and 5. We just spent the last hour and a half talking about it. We're trying to create affordable housing for people, not only here in Toronto Centre, but across the city. Right?
And in the meantime, where are those people supposed to go?
Well, in the meantime, we are trying to create building stock, right? Again, those people that are in Howland Gardens, there were 89 people encamped there. As of today, there's 35. So we've housed almost half the people in Howland Gardens. And the 35 that are there now, they have 7 of them have housing plans in place. And they'll move from the park into housing. So again, I busted my butt trying to help the most vulnerable among us. So to say otherwise is inaccurate. Any other questions?
Can I hold this? Thank you. Hello, Chris and Miguel. With regards to Allen Gardens, there's also a sacred fire in progress. There is a teepee. There's a group of First Nations people holding a space ceremony for the children. One of the conversations that we had with Daniels is if we have this dream of a land trust and 500 down the street east, it could assure housing for those people. I believe so, if we put some political will. The other thing I want to say is also one unfinished business. The corner of Rebirth in Oak Street. There is supposed to be a barrier to safeguard people crossing that street. And I believe Sergeant Dick, is he still here? He knows about it, or Sergeant, my friend over there, Community Neighborhood Officer, is aware of that problem. It's an unfinished business. For many people, residents crossing that street is very dangerous. And former Councillor Christy Montana addressed that matter, but it's incomplete because there's supposed to be a barrier to avoid cars by parking in front of the Sam's store, and it creates a visibility problem. So I will ask you again, and Yusuf, you're aware of that problem as well, and I believe my friend over there as well. So could you remind transportation services, please, to complete that job, and it will ensure the safety of the people, residents in that corner. Thank you.
I know you mentioned this before. Yes, and it's on our radar, and I know that Yusuf is taking care of it. So thank you for the reminder. Much appreciated. And again, back to Allen Gardens, it's with intention that I didn't speak it with a secret fire. We have an indigenous community, a department at the city that is working with the community, the indigenous community, around the secret fire. So when I say campus, it does not include the secret fire or the secret fire keepers. So this is separate altogether. Just so you know, I'm not trying to kick anybody out in that space. They have the right to be there and to perform their ceremonies. Any other questions?
Good evening, Councillor Moise. My name is Megan. I'm standing in the back here. Just a few questions, hoping to get some clarification. So in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, you made a comment that you were hoping to open Moss Park Armory for our homeless community members. Hoping to get an update on that. Also wondering if there's any plans to open warming centers if we fall in extreme cold weather alerts before October 26th. I know we're expecting to hear word from the city on warming centers on the 26th. That's it.
So again, no update on the armory. I have spoken to the MP about it and waiting for a response. It's federal property. I've done my ask. And in the past, we have asked the former city council have asked in the past, and nothing has transpired. So, but we keep asking, right? That's all we can do. And hopefully, at some point, they'll say yes, and we keep after them. And we actually have changed our policies early in the year to actually opening the warming centers up earlier and staffing them. We've also changed the temperature, hot and cold temperature as to when they are open. So my colleague, Councillor Bravo, and others have championed opening the warming centers, 24-hour warming centers. So you should see more of that this coming winter.
Do you know if there'll be one specifically in your ward? As of right now, I believe the closest one was down on Cecil Street, which wasn't accessible for a lot of our homeless folk who have mobility difficulties or can't access the TTC. And then, sorry, one follow-up question. You mentioned in the last meeting that at the end of every night, the City of Toronto, SSHA, or the Toronto Police, I'm not too sure, would have 3 TTC buses available to round up our homeless community members and take them somewhere safe. I'm just wondering what that means. Where is someone safe? And if our shelters are full and at capacity right now, are they going to stay on the bus all night? Is there going to be other accommodation? Thank you.
I'll say that specifically, but at the TTC board meeting this week, we actually approved hiring more housing workers and other support staff to help those who are under housing assistance. And at the same meeting we had earlier this week, we talked about having buses to transport people to shelter and elsewhere. So, and the question was asked, well, what if there's no shelter space, right? And to be fair, there was not a clear answer to that. But again, we as a city, Gord Tanner and his team, are trying to find more space for people across the city. And again, people ask us all the time and ask me, well, why don't you just keep the hotels open as we have in the past? But the response is the hotels have actually said to us they need their buildings back so that they can actually conduct their business. So, and also too, the key is finding more spaces across the city, and that's just not in the core. Now, one of your questions was, well, there's no accessible spaces or shelters in Toronto Centre. Well, there isn't a lot of space in the ward. This ward is a virtual ward. We do have shelters, but not city-run shelters. Mind you, the city do provide funding for a lot of these shelters that are here in Toronto Centre. We have projects like Dixon Hall, Fred Victor, so many others, right? So it's just not city-run shelters. We have many shelters here in Toronto Centre that are funded by the city. And Cecil Street is a nice facility, but again, unless you use this facility here, but we have programs that's run into this building. Okay? We have kids in Regent Park. We provide programs to here. I remember several years ago when we had the fire at 650 Parliament, we actually closed this building and we had cots in here. And I was a school board trustee at the time. And one of our students who actually played basketball in here every day at 5 p.m., he couldn't play basketball here. And he was out there somewhere in Regent Park and was shot and killed in front of his apartment door. And immediately after that, then Mayor Tory purchased hotel space for people and had everybody out of here. So again, it's just one example as to why we need recreation centers for our young people and people in general, seniors and others, right? I wish I could flip the switch and create more spaces, but I don't have the means to do that. I work with what I can and as quickly as I can. So I know it's not an answer you're probably looking for, but this is the truth, and this is what I can tell you right now. I can make up things, I can make empty promises, but that's not who I am.
Thank you. I have a comment about some of the things I heard tonight, and I really think that I watched a documentary about Tommy Douglas and how he solved the healthcare problem for Saskatchewan by going into a business, and how that healthcare now is all over Canada. One suggestion I have for all of these problems is, why can't the government go into business and the people buy, all of us buy from the government, and that money be used for all of the issues that we have. That is just something to think about for our history in Tommy Douglas. My second question is that I took on some responsibility this year to become the co-chair for employment and economic development for Regent Park in the SDP. And that is a huge responsibility that requires one of collaboration. There's two people that I really admire. One of them is Dr. Martin Luther King, and the second one is a twin brother of mine. And one of the real skills that he has is a conversion, how he's able to talk with partners, get them on the table, and think logically, and think together to come up with some of the solutions. I know you are partially new, I wouldn't say new, but how can we increase entrepreneurship in this neighborhood for what is already in phases 1, 2, and 3, and for phases 4 and 5. And couple of the projects is the boulevard, the Regent Park Boulevard. That space, when I watched the videos of phases 1, was meant for entrepreneurs. Now cars and everyone else is on it rather than the intended folks. How do we bring back these spaces back where they belong, and how can we think bigger for phases 4 and 5 and really help what we call the entrepreneurial path, where everyone has an opportunity to get out of poverty? Thank you.
Perhaps I could answer some of those questions. I'll start from the last one, Regent Park Boulevard. You said it's supposed to be a pedestrian walkway, is that correct?
It's meant for stalls to be there for entrepreneurs to sell their goods.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did recently, the last 10 months, is that if you go down to St. Lawrence Market, I have actually closed off Market Street, and it's now a pedestrian street, right? Market Lane, I think it's called. And so it's being programmed, and it was well used this past summer. I plan on extending the permit there next TYCC, Toronto City Councillor, but I do want to make it permanent. And if there's an interest perhaps in making Regent Park Boulevard a pedestrian right of way, then that's something that my office would consider if there's an interest in that for sure. And again, 2,000, I think 20,000 square feet of public space for phases 4 and 5, I believe, is what we are slated to do. And we are looking at having micro retail there in those public spaces, among other things. So again, I know we've had some public consultation around that, and the conversation continues. But I'm open to any and all suggestions as well. So again, it's your space, and your input is important, but perhaps Tridel could elaborate on those comments.
Or maybe before Tridel, if Tridel wants to elaborate, that's cool, but maybe I'll talk about Regent Park Boulevard for a second. I'm Fatima from the Daniels Corporation. Just about Regent Park Boulevard, it became something that Daniels has been working on in partnership also with the city, is trying to figure out how to make Regent Park Boulevard more accessible for community animation. So really, it was designed as a space that was meant to be animated by community groups, community members, for things like markets, etc. But it is technically a city park, and therefore all of the permitting requirements and insurance requirements and everything make it a little bit difficult from creating barriers to access for some community organizations. So we've actually worked with the city to create a partnership with a community organization where a license agreement would be in place, and therefore it would be more accessible to community groups, because this license agreement would sort of be a standing license agreement. So our team has been in touch with the city on creating that license agreement. It's still in process, but it really is quite advanced in terms of, we're quite down in the process, and we should have a clear process communicated to the community soon. So there is that. And then I'll touch briefly, because Ibrahim and I do sit together on the Employment and Economic Development Committee of the SDP, and one of the things that I'll just take the opportunity to plug if I can, is Daniels has developed a community commercial program in Regent Park over the last number of years. We currently have a call for proposals open right now for local businesses and entrepreneurs who are looking for access to retail space. The community commercial program does provide access to that space at well below market rates with supports for things like fit up and that kind of thing as well. So if you're interested in that, you can always catch me. And if you can't catch me, you catch Ibrahim or you catch Ismail, they also know how to get in touch with me. And actually I'm gonna pass it on to my colleague Allison just for a quick clarification on Regent Park Boulevard as well.
Thanks. Councillor Moise, you were correct. Regent Park Boulevard is not yet assumed by the city. So it's a phase 2 road. I was mistaken. I thought it was phase 1. So I'm gonna have to ask Peter maybe to answer, but the snow clearing falls under TCH's responsibility. I know that they annually get a contract in place for snow clearing. However, I know TCH has worked wonders and we're hoping for phase 2 roads to be assumed very soon, but that's really where the snow clearing currently stands.
Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
I usually have a very good memory about things. I do want to make a comment, though, about entrepreneurship. So again, I've been a councillor for 10 months now, but I've had conversations with Tridel around community benefits agreements. Again, there's opportunity for Regent Park residents to learn a new skill, a new trade. We've had extensive conversations about that. You're in the room, so you know what those are. I've had conversations with Metrolinx. Again, opportunity for our community in regards to entrepreneurship in the work that they're doing on the world as well. So the conversation continues, right? There are things that are happening, and they're happening very quickly, quite frankly. And so I'm very excited about the future and the opportunities that will happen. And a lot has been done already before I got here, with phases 1, 2, and 3. So I think it's important to see the benefit, from where we were to where we are and where we're heading. It's important to recognize. And your leadership and others in the room, we should be very proud of where we've come.
So I think
Is that me? Okay.
Yes, it's you.
Okay.
That's her, yeah.
I was in the conference for 2 days. Some of the city staff are there as well. About gun violence, it's a public health issue. And also homelessness is a public health issue as well. And we are ashamed of us seeing the people that are sleeping on the streets. And the amount of stuff has been deficit was passing by to you, but at the same time, what can we do right now? And there is a lot of condos popping up every corner of the city in downtown as well. Why don't we make them accountable, those condo builders? And when you do our approval of rezoning, certain floor has to be for TCIC or affordable housing. Like think about sleeping on the street one day yourself or your staff or the city people, and that how does that feel? And then I feel ashamed of being a part of this society, including myself, and we are making them invisible, the people who are sleeping on the floor, and the amount of homeless, and I see in Allen Garden, and I feel I'm ashamed of this society, and including myself, and we don't look at them as a human being. And we just passing, and then the amount of people who are there, and I cannot say to you how I feel, and my heart is sinking every time when I pass by. And as a citizen, as a business owners, we have a lot of business. It's not only city issue. We need to bring the business people who are building all the shit, the condos, and making the people invisible. And I think we could make radical change. We don't need we are meeting. No, we need radical change that we need in the city. especially Toronto Centre. Like I hear a lot of homeless are coming from other cities to see that we have compassion. We are not compassion. We don't have compassion. We don't have hearts. And seeing people are sleeping on the street and we make it normal. And people are dying and frozen. People are freezing. Like we know that Toronto is a cold country. Why we just let them? Like why don't we open? There is a lot of space in the city. We don't need to take this community center. We saw the impact of it. We lost a young person because they didn't have access to the community center. We don't need to take the community center. The people who are not living in this community and the impact of have the community center, we don't take away the community center. There is a lot of, you need to do audits about the space that exists in city Toronto Centre. We need to use them. Like, why people have to die? Like, shame of us. We have a lot of resource in the city and other cities as well. Like, anyway, this is, it's been bothering me and I got an opportunity. It's short notice coming here. We need a lot of change. We have rezoning for phase on 4 and 5. This is the city land. I think Trident need to have more compassion in building more affordable housing in Regent Park. Yes, they are here to make money, but at the same time, they need to build the housing more.
Yes.
Well said.
Yeah, well said.
That's a lot to unpack, Surya. Where do I start? So, I'll just start anywhere. So when it comes to phases 4 and 5, we've actually, like I mentioned in my comments, we've actually rezoned phases 4 and 5 to actually create more affordable housing. And I did get a lot of pushback from people around that. I think we created 600 more affordable housing. And we had some pushback from some people saying that, you know, the density is too much, right? But the only way to actually create more affordable housing was to actually create more density. So, you know, so I'm proud of that anyway. That's something that, you know, I pushed for and it happened with partnership with Townhall and TCAC. And historically, 51% of social services are actually in Toronto Centre, right? Everybody used to come here, and because that's where the services have been. You know, when I was at St. Mike's Hospital working in the emergency for many years, and my area was the district of mental health and underhoused, I used to actually welcome people to the hospital and find them services outside of the hospital. And because historically Toronto Centre has been a place that has the services, people came here because their own communities didn't have the resources. So as a result of the pandemic, you know, we're now overwhelmed, and there's so many people on the streets. We saw this just last month in regards to refugees, for example. People came from war-torn countries and ended up sleeping in the streets of Toronto. And those people were predominantly black people. People of color came from Africa. They left a traumatic place to come here to experience more trauma. And so, thankfully, you know, some of the churches, you know, took up the realm because we, I think, as a city and as a province of the country, failed these people, right? And I was told by staff that there's 500 refugees coming to Toronto every year. 2019 by City Council, and that it's actually to deal with our ward specifically, I would say, the downtown east of Yonge, to deal with the poverty that is in this ward, around the addictions, the mental health, and underhoused. So we actually have funding for that to deal with some of those issues, clean the needles in the laneways, the human excrements, you know, the garbage, all those things. And so we had 4 public consultations in the last few weeks around that, to look at it with fresh eyes, to see what has worked. Because again, none of this action plan actually came into effect just before the pandemic. So there were gaps in the system. And so with the refresh, we're going back to council with some new recommendations, right? And I actually added to those myself. And two of the recommendations I brought forth was that, perhaps we should pay for cleaning the graffiti, perhaps paying for the smashing of small business windows that's occurred, and some other things. And again, you as a community have actually brought forth the ideas as to how we can enhance those things. So there are things taking place, and it's not the answer, the perfect response you're looking for, but I just want to outline some of the things that I can do and the things that we have been doing and continue to do and to work on. But again, my desire, my dream, and my goal is to house people that are on our streets of Toronto. We have very harsh climates here in this country. We have very hot summers and very cold winters. And we are actually a very rich country. And no one should be left behind. Everyone deserves a place to live. I fundamentally believe that. And it is my goal, desire, and drive as a city councillor to house everyone in the city.
Hi, good evening. My name is Teresa. I work for Toronto Community Housing. I'm the Revitalization Engagement Manager. And to finish on that positive note that the councillor was speaking to, there are many things that we need to do as a community to address homelessness and poverty. And I wanted to use this opportunity to also talk about how we as TCHC can continue to provide additional opportunities within the community through leveraging our development partners and the employment and training opportunities that they bring in through the revitalization and being within those communities. So I wanted to create a bit of a shameless plug since we have a captive audience here, and just point out to Fatima and Asal. They're here to work with our youth and other residents to meet you where you're at and provide you with opportunities through various programs that are starting up currently. We've been working on employment for a number of years with Daniel's providing hundreds of jobs already, and now we have Tridel coming in as well with many opportunities. So please come and speak to us and get in touch and let us find out what opportunities we can provide more of within the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. And I know it's a little past time, and out of respect to everyone, I don't want to go beyond more than I have already, but thank you.
Ali has to sign up.
Sorry, I just want to make one comment. Soraya said something very critical.
By the way, have a mic. Okay.
Thank you. So I just want to thank Soraya for bringing such a critical, not just point, but a solution. One of the solutions she proposed is that making sure that future developments have RGI, right? Rent geared to income units. And then I think that's critical because when we're talking about the affordable housing, the 600 plus units of affordable housing, let me remind everyone, you know what the definition of affordable housing for those 600 units are? It's 80% of market.
That's insane.
I do not know a resident of Regent Park that can pay 80% of, sorry, I'm trying to get that councillor's attention. Let me wait. Okay. Now I have the councillor's attention. I want to say that I do not know any resident that can afford 80% of $2,500 or almost $3,000 now because of market forces for one bedroom unit. Yeah. So our community, the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, many stakeholders have called for those units to be adequately funded so they're rent geared to income. When we're talking about the African refugees that were out there at 129 Peter Street, an international embarrassment, may I add. Okay, there was international coverage about it. What was so sad about that was that people have failed to realize that their entry into the housing market is through rent geared to income units. They can't afford market units.
units. They can't afford 80% of market. And that's the story that our friends at Toronto Community Housing are not talking about as vocally. Yeah. And one of the things that we need to remember is that we, in phases 1 to 3, there was a commitment made to the Regent Park residents. Residents who've been living here for decades, dealing with bed bugs, dealing with cockroaches, dealing with all the pest control issues. The commitment was, we're not going to displace you, and we're going to put you on a pathway to home ownership. That's why we had Daniel Scorp and other levels of government, including TCHC, offer a pathway to home ownership through what we now would like to call rent to own, right? And we have folks in our community that have petitioned all levels of government. They've met with the Prime Minister's office. They've met with the Premier, Doug Ford. We've been a very vocal community saying that we need those investments now. And there's no talk, there's no commitment in the rezoning application for a pathway to home ownership through those programs. So we need our councillor to work with other levels of government to secure that funding so that residents are able to live in their community and not be displaced. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. My name is Shahan Chaudhuri. And first of all, I have two questions. One is for housing managership, right? The youngster, our kids in Regent Park. Many kids have no job. Last 3 years, they apply housing, Daniel, builders everywhere. They can get job. My 3 sons is home. Suraya knows, right? So please arrange for our young kids to job create in Regent Park. Second thing, I make a petition to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to rent to own. It's good news, it approved, but 3 level we make meeting already. He knows also. So, but now we want to do something, you guys, for rent to own in Regent Park mainly, because we want ownership. We are not asking free. So please do something for us. Thank you very much.
Just want to add, I took the time earlier to explain how RGI works, and repeating over and over again that you want more RGI does not come out from thin air. I mentioned that the city cannot fund RGIs because we cannot afford to. I mentioned that it's the province and the feds that funds RGIs. Yes, I've advocated, the MVP was here earlier, and again, we have had meetings with MP Marcy Ian, and you were in the room. So I have advocated for RGIs. But I'm saying to you again that the city does not have the funds to increase RGIs. So again, repeating it time and time again is not going to change the reality. And lastly, historically, rent to own sounds amazing. But rent to own is almost like leasing a car. It's yours, but it never is yours because the interest rates is so high. And at the end of the day, you have to pay X amount to get it out. It's been done elsewhere. It has not been successful. So again, yes, rent to own, but if you bought a house for, let's say, I don't know, $1 million, by the end of the term, the mortgage is $2 million. It's never yours. So again, it sounds great by saying it, but practically speaking, is not something that I would encourage. I would say co-op is a better option. Co-op has worked. Co-ops have funded federally. I think currently there's $1 billion set aside federally to actually put towards co-op housing. And this is why I've mentioned with the 500 Dundas property. That is something that we are looking to do because it is realistic. It's possible.
Yeah, it is possible.
So I don't want to make false promises I cannot keep. I will leave that for others to do, but not me. Thank you for coming. Have a wonderful evening. Safe journey.
They are. Take care.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on social media, and for more information, check out our website.